Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Team Chicane Club live stream. I'm coming to you tonight, well, virtually, of course, from a track much closer to home than Suzuka was last week. That was only, I don't know, 12 time zones away. This one is a 2-hour drive from where I'm sitting right now, a little bit northwest of here in good old Sebring, Florida. Yeah, anyone who's watched racing in the last week knows that Sebring's been all over the place, all over the news. We had our 12-hour over the weekend. Wayne Taylor Racing was back on top with the number 40 car. Their second entry, actually, their primary being the 10. They won overall. P2 had some friends at Aero Motorsport. Dwight, Kyle, if you guys are watching, Ryan too. If you guys are watching, good to hear from you. You got to catch up with you guys soon, but congratulations on winning the Daytona 24 and the Sebring 12-hour, known as the, informally as the Florida 36. Then over in GTD Pro, you had Abe Vassar-Sullivan, who won with a 14 car. Kyle Kirkwood, if you're watching, you guys did an awesome job to win there. And then we had Windward Racing in GTD. In a Mercedes, so good to know that the Mercedes is fast as Sebring. Just doing some final practice here, dialing some things in. So this time last week, we were under the impression that we were going to be driving a very, very wet Sebring for tonight's race. And it turns out that that is not the case. So it's going to be totally dry tonight, but it is a night session. So it's fully dark right now. When we launch into the official race session, there'll be the sun will be setting for qualifying, and then by the time we go green, it'll be essentially fully dark. So no need to think about any wet tires at all tonight. Just some good old-fashioned dry weather racing. So, yeah, so Garrett and I have done a lot of driving at Sebring. I don't know how many days we do there last year.
I think you were there for about 4 of these sessions, and I was there for a 5th that you weren't able to make.
Yeah, so not in a car quite as fast as the AMG GT3, at least not yet. We were doing it with Shane Lewis, one of our founding members here, who happens to just be in Mugello this week, ahead of the 12-hour this weekend. Wish I could be there on the timing stand with them, but it's just not in the cards this year. Anyways, we were at Sebring a bunch of times with Shane and his pair of BMW M235i's. A lot of race work done to them, so that's what we drive around there. We got to get back there soon, actually. It's been a little while. But for reference, I think we're considerably faster in the GT3. So far, I've done a 2:01.4, it looks like, which is pretty close to what they're doing in reality. But the BMWs we were driving, I think we were much more in the mid-220 range. So yeah, 25, 30 seconds off the pace, but yeah, 200 horsepower less, no downforce, street tire, you know, a little bit of a difference. So one of the things that's actually been hard to me that Garrett and I have talked about a lot in getting ready for the race this week is that iRacing, again, really love iRacing, kind of talked about the pros and cons of it last week. One of the things with Sebring that was a little bit difficult for me is that their build of Sebring, they did give it an update, I don't know, I think 12 months ago, about a year ago, they did an update for their Sebring model, but it was really just a retexture. So new banners and signage and whatnot, but they didn't actually change any of the actual hard features of the track. So there's a lot of small details that I'm very tuned into in real life that are not there, because this track build is based on a version of Sebring from, I don't know, I'm not 100% sure. Someone at iRacing, I'm sure, knows this, but it's probably something like 8 or 10 years old. So a lot of stuff is different. This next lap, I'll point out some of the small things that I had to adjust to. But tonight we're just going to drive the Sebring that's in front of me. So coming up to Bishop's Bend here. This is really cool in the dark. Gonna be a treat for you guys to watch tonight. Kind of fun because with the track being so close, it almost feels like we're actually there, just because the timing kind of lines up with the lighting outside our building right now. So very convincing.
Hey Greg, we got Leo Vasquez watching who would like for you to coach a lap around Sebring. He drives his Golf GTI up there and is curious if you could guide us through one of your laps.
All right, sure. I'll try to get as much in as I can in a single lap with this thing. So coming across start finish, making our way to the right side of the track, coming under the Chevy Bridge. We're gonna break a bit past that, turn in right before the end of the wall, aim for that orange cone up top, get close to that wall, commit to power. That was a bit wide there. We'll line up our braking zone into turn 3, brake at the 2.5, down to second gear, nice trailing release. Avoid this curb on the right, get it back to the right, good trail brake, patient in turn 5 here, squeeze power down. Hold it flat out here, hold it to the right. Always make sure to check your outside mirror as you fade over to the left here. In this car, I'm braking at this 4 right here, down to first gear. Use all the inside curb and then a really aggressive return to power. Looking for this concrete patch here. Easy flat out. Back to the left for the second concrete patch. Line it up to the left. Braking at the 3.5 down to second. Nice trailing release all the way to the outside. Short shift to third to avoid wheel spin for 11A and B. Nice and wide here, brake past the 3 towards the outside, nice trailing release, back to power right away. Use all the available track out. Coming to Bishop's Bend, we'll just touch this curb here, and the first one big arc, try not to adjust your steering. Braking at the 3 down to third, nice big trail, a little bit of rotation. Hard on the power, back to the left, try to get as far to the left as we can with the time we have, and recommit to power. Well, take a breath on the back straight away because it's the only chance you're going to get. And then for me in the Mercedes, we're turning in and braking right past the 2, let it carry towards the outside. Normally I'd look for the spray paint dot on the bridge in real life, squeeze to power, and then use all the available road to the outside to let it open up. And that's a very quick lap. So a little bit off the pace, hard to talk and drive that fast at the same time, but yeah, a little bit better job in turn 1. That's a little bit better. Line up our braking zone. Good trailing release, trying to apex right at the very end of the curb. I'm not sure if I want to make any setup changes right now. Feels really good, honestly. So one of the things that we did last week at Suzuka in the rain that we opted to do in a slightly conservative move, but I think it worked out nicely, was that we decided to keep the current rain tires on the car at our pit stop in the middle, just because we felt that hot worn rain tires was going to be a better choice than cold new ones, especially when you factor in the time it takes to swap the tires. Well, circumstances are a little bit different tonight. With it being dry, tire deg is a very, very real thing. Ambient temp looks like it's 77, as is the track temperature. And it's dry, so yeah, it gets tire deg's a very real thing. So just like IMSA does with their real pit stops in real life, we're able to take fuel and change tires simultaneously. Not every racing series is like that. Sometimes you're forced to, by the rules, take fuel and then tires, or vice versa. But because we can do both, that means that while we're fueling, which in this car will take about 15, 16 seconds for the amount of fuel we need to finish this race. We can get 2 tires changed in that time. Now, in real life, I can't ever think of an instance where we changed not all 4 tires at once, but, you know, in iRacing we can. So, we were discussing a lot earlier today in our practice sessions, well, which 2 tires do we want if I can take 2? We did some testing with, oh, I'm a bit wide, picked up power too early there, shame on me. Picked up a push. In our testing earlier, what we did is I did about half a race distance, 2/3 of a race distance, and then we took just front tires because I was afraid that we were going to have a really pushy car late in the race. And I thought that would be the safe way to go. What that led to is a car that pointed really great, stopped really great, kind of did whatever I wanted it to, but towards the end of the race, the rear tires, which were not changed by comparison, were really kind of tired, and I was just managing the rear end the whole time, which is really dicey. That's a really, when you talk about race engineering in real life, we always talk about the tendency for the tire, the balance of the car over a long run. Does the front go away first? Does the rear go away first? Or do all 4 tires, like in the balance of the car, kind of stay the same, but just maximum grip goes away? Generally speaking, it is a much safer situation for the front tires to go away first. You think about a driver who's been in either his first stint and he's half an hour in, or a second stint, so he's 90 minutes to 2 hours in. Which one's easier for a tired, exhausted driver to deal with? I would much prefer, as if I were tired in a race car, to deal with a car that's going to push and deal with understeer, rather than one that's going to be loose, where I'm nervous and I'm afraid it's going to snap and I'm going to ruin my race. So that's a consideration that we always talk about. If you have a car that's going to get loose at the end of a stint, you better set it up so that it's really pushy at the beginning and it kind of trends towards a neutral situation. So, something we're always talking about. Anyways, back to my original point. We're going to get 2 tires tonight. So what we decided that we're going to do, I don't know what the rest of the iRacing world does, but we're going to take left side tires. We did a quick practice run, and it was the best solution that I found. With this being a clockwise circuit, there's a whole lot more right turns than there are left ones. So the outside tires are going to get, you know, burned up a lot more. On our stop, we're going to take a left front and a left rear. Now, will that cause us to suffer in stuff like turn 1, turn 3, turn 5? Yes, for sure. But I'm quite confident that we're going to make up for it in all the right-hand turns on the track. So that's what we're going to go with. So, yeah, well, if you've, thanks for tuning in. For everyone who's in there right now, feel free to drop a question in the chat box there. Make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications so you know when we're going live. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun time, guys. Glad to be doing this for you. Totally different setup than last week, with us being in the dry at a track that we know awfully well. Yeah, it's gonna be another fun one. I'd love to get another podium like we did last time too, but unfortunately I think my iRating went up as a result of last week's win, and I might be in a different split now, so I might have slightly stiffer competition this week, but who knows? We'll see.
Excellent. Great job, Greg. Keep it up. We got Andy, who said that she's glad to see you live streaming. Lenny said thank you. And we got Replica Racing saying that he placed P5 in the Porsche GT4. Your recommendations and coaching helped huge.
Awesome. Way to go, Josiah. Nice work, dude. And thanks again for all the liveries that you do. You guys on the stream, you see that that little thumbnail of the Mercedes there. That's thanks to Josiah at Replica Racing. He put that whole thing together for us, kind of a bespoke livery, and he does all of our in-sim photography stuff. So if you guys want a custom livery of your own, or in-sim photography, either Assetto Corsa or iRacing or Assetto Corsa Competizione, I know Josiah is your guy, so talk to him. How we doing, Garrett? Not a lot of traffic for you to call out right now.
Yeah, really not much going on at all.
Yeah.
Only about 2 P3s and a single GTP. Most of the traffic's just been. Oh, never mind. There's actually no one in the lobby anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, so we just get the entire lobby ourselves.
Cool.
Not a bad thing at all.
Yeah. Is the are we inside half an hour to the race?
Yeah, I actually just reached it.
Okay. All right. We'll do another lap or two here,
Copy that.
and then we'll switch over. So, yeah, for those of you that are new to the Chicane Club or weren't able to watch last week, the Chicane Club is South Florida's elite sim racing social club. So this is an in-person club. This is not any sort of digital membership here. So if you have membership here, you can drive this sim that I'm sitting in right now, or the identical one that's about 6 feet that way. This one's got red seatbelts, that one's got blue, and that is the only difference. I'm gonna do a practice stop here, or pit entry at least. Ooh, might have been a little fast on entry there. So yeah, as a part of our members club, we have a social membership that gets you into 3 events per month where you're able to drive this simulator right here, kind of more of a social format. We pick a car and track combo and you race against all the other members throughout the evening. We'll give coaching for you. Those are really fun. Those have really great turnout. It's a great group of guys, car collectors, enthusiasts, motorsports people, gamers, you name it, all that stuff. So, yeah, and then as with membership, you also get the opportunity to book private hours with us. So if you have an actual track day that's coming up soon, you just want to get better at sim racing, you want to try a new hobby, anything, if you're going to competing in real life and you need some sim prep, you name it, we'll make it happen for you in kind of an arrive and drive format where the goal is that you never have to touch this mouse and keyboard. Maybe you have to sign into your iRacing, and I'm not going to ask you for your password, but aside from that, you never have to touch a mouse and keyboard when you're in here. So, yeah, and then we have everything up to our social membership starts at $175 a month, and then we go all the way up to like a VIP membership, which includes all of that and totally unlimited coaching support, where you can come in anytime on an unlimited basis. Yeah, that pairs really well if you're a young development driver, a gentleman driver, an actively competing professional driver, you name it. Pairs really nicely with your active competition season. So. It's the best money you'll ever spend towards actually getting faster. We cost a whole year of support costs less than one single weekend in any racing series anywhere. So I would say that's pretty good bang for your buck for that. Just logging into our official race lobby now. We'll do some more, do a quick little race practice run, and then we'll do some qualifying sims. So with the difference with that being, so a race run is going to be a slightly more conservative pace for myself. I'm not looking to go. I use this phrase all the time. I'm not looking to set the world on fire with trying to like burn everything down and take as much risk as possible to go for the ultimate lap time. Really driving a little bit more conservatively, managing my pace. Don't want to make any mistakes. I'm trying to avoid curbs or any sort of risky situations. And I'm going to do a little bit of tire and fuel management just to make sure that we're not excessively burning down the tires or anything. And then when we go to qualifying simulation, for those of you that don't know, the way qualifying works, qualifying is the process by which we determine the grid order at the start of the race. So who starts first, second, third, fourth, all the way down to last place. The way that works in every racing series does it a little differently, but there's a qualifying session where everyone goes and sets their fastest single lap pace, and then they use that fastest to slowest to determine the grid order. The way it happens to work here in iRacing, because it's a digital format, we can do it really quickly. Everyone qualifies on a track totally by themselves, so there's no competitors out there. You get one outlap from pit lane where you try to warm up heat in your tires and get your grip up, and then you get 2 fast laps. The first one, usually the grip feels really good, but the tire temperatures aren't quite there. My goal is to always go a little bit on the conservative side for that, to just bank a lap, get something good in that's representative and gets me kind of approximately where I want to be. And then if I can really get that quick lap in the way I want it to, um, then I'll go a little bit more aggressively in the second one. And if I crash out or make a mistake or anything, well, I've got my banker lap that I can rely on, or I go faster and I put myself closer to the front. So that's kind of my method for how I do that. So, yeah, all right. What time is it, Garrett, right now? How much time do we have before the race lobby opens?
We got about 25 minutes.
Okay, I'll do about another 10 minutes of race sim stuff. Maybe I'll do a practice pit stop somewhere in the middle. And then, yeah, then we'll move over to the qualifying stuff. I like to do the practice runs, a lot of that. And then I do the qualifying sims much closer to the race. That's just kind of the cadence that works well for me. I naturally you want to do your qualifying practice immediately before you go and qualify, and then you just have to remind yourself when you get back into the race car that has a full fuel load and not a very light one. You just got to be a little bit more conservative to start and everything. So, yeah, all right. Looks like well, this is just the race lobby, so this is not necessarily who I'm going to be racing tonight. Love doing a big burnout in this Mercedes. Pull out of the stall. And not totally for show. It does put some heat in the rear tires, which is important. Man, this night stuff is fun. You just see the very end of the sun going down in the sky off in the distance. So I use first gear in turn 7. Generally, first gear has such a high gear ratio that in real life it's very aggressive on the transmission and can cause a lot of premature wear and risk damaging something in the race, or just putting wear into it earlier in the lifespan of the transmission than we'd otherwise want. So generally in real life, we're not using first gear unless we really need to at some corners. But mechanical, like straight up mechanical damage, like a transmission failure, is not something they currently model in iRacing. And as much as some people could argue it's not realistic, I think it takes the fun out of what sim racing is to model fluke issues that are not the driver's fault. So I'm not afraid of using first gear in some corners when it's actually fast. So another small difference. We're just going sim racing, do what's fastest. We don't care about actually breaking a transmission here. Oh, someone took out all the cones. That's awfully convenient. So I don't think I got a chance to earlier, but let me point out some of the small differences in this track model. For one, this wall along pit lane in the iRacing model, as you enter turn 1, the pit wall goes out to the right, so you can actually drive to the right side of the track quite a bit further on the approach. That is not like that anymore. It's been quite a long time since that actually looked like that at Sebring. The model we have of Sebring and Assetto Corsa even has that correct as well. But we're racing on tonight, so I got to take advantage of the fact that it's shaped like that. Coming up to turn 7. Curbing is a bit wider at apex in real life. It's kind of twice that width, and then the curbing here, that little spot right there, that's a bit wider in real life as well. Doesn't really affect anything though. Turn 10 right here, this all looks pretty spot on to me, as far as I can tell. 11A and B, this looks the same. Tower you can see off in the distance is a really good visual mark. It's also the namesake for this corner, tower turn. 13 is the same. Bishops is fundamentally the same. This hasn't changed very much in a very long time. The one thing I believe that's not indicative of real life also is that you guys can see them pretty clearly on the stream on my center screen. These markers that are on the left and right side of the track everywhere, I'm pretty confident that those are not there in real life. They definitely help with seeing the track boundaries here in the sim, but yeah, they're not there. All right, coming up to turn 17. In real life, there's a very small spray paint spot on the bridge right above where I just drove through. That's a really good visual reference for where to line up your car. The one thing we always talk about turn 17 for a beginner or even advanced drivers is that you generally always want to be, if you can line up with that spray paint mark, you can put the center of the car directly beneath that, approximately. You also want to have the car squared up with the bridge as you go underneath. And generally, if you're doing all of that, you can also start committing back to power. If you're still pointed downstream or kind of like at a tight angle to the bridge, probably pointed in the wrong direction. Got some prototype traffic coming up. Let these guys go. I'll stay to the right. So yeah, this is again, this is IMSA's, the official IMSA iRacing series. So that means it is officially recognized by IMSA, which is the sanctioning body for the Sebring 12-hour. And it runs in a very similar format to what they race in real life, which means that the prototypes that you saw just blow by me, I'm not truly competing with them. They're in significantly faster cars. They're doing 15 to 20 seconds a lap faster than I am. But we do need to share the racetrack with each other in the race. Imagine 2 football games going on one football field at a time, and that's kind of a glimpse of what this is actually like. Except there's actually three football games going on in one football field, because there's 2 prototype classes and 1 GT class. I am in the GT3 class, which is the slowest class in the field. I don't think it's slow. GT3 cars are very fast by a lot of standards, but the prototype classes tend to be naturally a lot faster. I think in maybe sometime off in the future, I'll upgrade to one of the prototype classes. But for now, I really love driving this Mercedes. How are we looking, Garrett?
It's about 8:28 now.
Okay.
So we got about 15 minutes to our race start.
Okay. All right.
We got a question from More Podiums on how much do you tweak the setup of the car from the iRacing base setup?
A lot. Yeah, so I totally get that. If you're new to iRacing or just sim racing in general, you click on that garage or setup menu, and you see a whole lot of numbers and a whole lot of stuff that sounds like gibberish that does not make any sense. And then you ask yourself, how am I going to understand what any of this means? Yeah, I was like that for a long time, even actually working in real racing and having to work through some of those decisions. Yeah, one by one, you start learning what all the adjustments are. Oh, got a prototype. I'm probably not too happy with me.
Right side, clear.
Yeah, you just it took a long time to understand what all those adjustments are. What they do. Do I go up or down on this number? What is that? How does that change how the car drives? And then how do I make sense of doing all of that simultaneously with all these other adjustments? So I usually, if I'm new to, oh boy, he almost punted me.
Clear on the left.
Generally, if it's a new car, I'll start with one of the baseline setups, and I drive it for a long while. I'll drive for, I don't know, probably half an hour at a time, at least a full tank of fuel or more. And I start pushing the limits of what a car can do. I try to figure out how to drive it. Does it want a big trail brake? Does it want a small trail brake? Do you have to modulate the power a lot? You just start learning all the different tendencies of the car. What does it want to be fast? And then you eventually arrive at a point where you're like, well, I wish it did more of X, or I wish it did less of Y. And yeah, once you kind of understand, there's a lot of YouTube videos that are out there explaining what all these things do. The big things, the way I would break it down for someone, is that you want to understand the balance of the car in different. Generally speaking, you want to know what the balance of the car is. When I say balance, I mean, does the front overpower the rear, or does the rear overpower the front? Does it, generally speaking, does it understeer? Does it oversteer? Or is it neutral? And then you try to figure out, well, all right, now it understeers in the beginning of when I turn into the corner initially, but in the middle of the corner, it's kind of neutral. It does what I want it to. And then on the way out, I cannot keep the rear wheels from spinning. Or I go to power and the thing just plows like a dump truck, and I can't get it the rest of the way around the corner. So you kind of have to start thinking about that and the physics involved, where the weight of the car is, and you just start making. The best thing you can do is just start in a practice session. Just start making changes. Change one thing at a time. Change it 4 or 5 clicks. See what it does. Do you notice what it did? Do you feel something different? Do you like that change? Now go back to your initial position, drive it for another 5 minutes, and then go another 5 clicks the other direction. Now do you feel some sort of opposite tendency from the car? Does it do something different than it did before? And you kind of work through all of those things, and you start figuring out there's some adjustments you make that are really will very quickly change the attitude of the car, and there's some other ones that you need to make a whole lot of change for anything noticeable to happen. So, but ultimately, what you're trying to do is make it balance the way you want to in different scenarios, which is totally different for every racetrack. There is unfortunately no magic wand with that, other than experience. The other thing I'll say about it for sure that I think sim racers get a little lost on compared to with the truth of the matter is that there is no magic setup. I mean, I understand that there's sim companies out there that you can go and you pay a subscription model and you download the magic, quote unquote, magic setup from them for the weekend. Is that setup going to be fast? I'm sure it is. I'm sure they're quite good. It's developed by a bunch of pro sim drivers. Does that mean that it's the only setup and you should mindlessly use it? Well, if you don't know better, probably a good start. But what I will say is that the fastest setup for anyone is the one that's going to make the driver feel the most confident on in any given situation. Well, there's still some asterisks to that, but that's a good place to start. So, me knowing what I've from experience working on the real cars, I kind of know what's changed and what it's going to do and what I can expect. I like to make my own setups. I do not download a magic setup from anyone else. I know what the car is going to do, and I know what I changed to make that happen. And it helps kind of build my knowledge base. So when I go to new tracks, I know, oh, well, I did this with the front anti-roll bar, or I did this with the rear wing or the rear diff or whatever it is. I got what I wanted. So to me, I like a car. I find that in a racing situation, a car that is fast in a straight line is really, really hard to pass. So passes are made generally speaking, in a straight line. You might catch someone having extra downforce in a corner, but you're not really going to get by them unless you're pointed in a straight line. So I tend to run slightly less aero than I think average for everyone else. Cars behind me may not like it because they'll catch me in a corner and then never be able to pass me, but if you want to get by me, you got to be faster than me. So that's their problem, not mine. Hopefully that answers your question, more podiums. Don't know that it does. It probably makes you ask more than we started with, but welcome to racing.
Nah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Ooh. I made a mistake because I'm talking. How are we doing on time, Garrett?
We got about 10 minutes till the session begins.
Okay, all right. I'm going to come in and switch over to my qualifying setup. So tonight's race, which we're about 10-15 minutes away from, is a 45-minute race. You need to, it is kind of loosely a sprint format, which just means that it's, you know, not super long, multiple drivers and whatnot. But that being said, we do have to, the way the rules are set, we do need to come in for a pit stop to add some fuel to the car to be able to make it to the finish. But everyone will have to take a pit stop at some point, and that when to do so is up to everyone. I think we've got a pretty good idea of what we want to do that's pretty sharp about it. Oh, that was going to come in.
Clear.
I'm just going to stop here on the straightaway, which don't do this in real life, but we can do it in here. We'll back out. I'll pick up my qualifying setup, which for me, like I said last week, the suspension setup for me that works best between race and qualifying is almost identical. I just like to take all the fuel out of it and not carry around any unnecessary weight. Let's do that. I have a qualifying setup in here, but I made a bunch of changes to my race setup anyway, so this is what I'm going to ride on. And I know from when we did
You have
the
about 5 laps of fuel left.
So, Sebring. All right, so obviously I've driven here, I've been here dozens of times. Yeah, definitely dozens of times. Let me see if there's anyone coming. I think there is. There we go. For the 12-hour, which is Sebring's biggest race of the year, this year was their 72nd running of the Sebring 12-hour. So for 72 years, they've been coming to race at Sebring in this format. I think it's the first American racetrack to host Formula One race. Built on a World War II bomber airfield that they used for training for pilots. So much of the racetrack, not this section right here, but much of the back section of the racetrack is original tarmac that they landed bombers on 80 years ago. So that's why it's so infamously bumpy, because it has not been resurfaced in 80 years. So I don't know about you, but any road I've ever been on that's 80 years old is usually not too smooth.
Car on your left. Clear.
Anyway, Sebring 12-hour. Sorry, guys. The last time I called a little bit of strategy and engineering with a DAC Motorsports and their Lamborghini Huracan in 2017. It's not a great race for us, unfortunately. We had a lot of problems with the car. And then I did it the following year with P1 Motorsports and this Mercedes. I think we had some light mechanical issues that held us out of true contention, but I think we were pretty quick. And then I helped out that P1 again the following year a little bit in 2019. So, yeah, race I've got a lot of experience from an actual timing stand on. What is this prototype doing?
Clear on the left.
Go for some qualifying laps.
Right side. Clear on the right.
So, Replica Racing is asking, how do you make the best pit stop call for tire changes, fuel, etc.?
Yeah, that's a fun one. What this prototype is doing.
Car on your left. Clear on the left.
Yeah, so we do have to take a pit stop somewhere. Everyone really has to take
Car on the right. Go left.
at least enough fuel to get to the checkered flag, which I think the math we did was 37 liters. Garrett, I think we need to add at some point in the race. So the amount of fuel you need to add is essentially fixed by some simple math.
Got about 2 laps of fuel left.
And then it's up to you to decide when to take, or if you take tires, how many and which ones. Timing-wise, this is where the true strategy comes into it. Because this is sim racing, the way iRacing works, there are no full course yellows, where you get behind a pace car and the field gathers up. That, just the simple nature of real life racing having pace cars is what adds a huge strategy element into real life racing, especially when you look at a 6, 12, 24-hour race. You try to make advantage of those, but we don't have that element here in iRacing. So we're looking for some. What is the advantage to be had by taking a pit stop early versus late? What we looked at doing, or the way we look at it, is that because we're in a GT class, we're going to be passed by these prototypes. When the prototype field is coming past us, that costs us a good amount of time in just trying to get out of the way. Just trying to like run our own race, but you know, don't want to cause an accident. Got one more lap on my qualifying sim here. So what we try to do that we found earlier today, practice, based on the lap time difference between us and the prototype fields. Oh, I overslowed there. Was that the prototype field will come through the GT3 fields twice in a 45-minute race. Unfortunately, the first time that they come through the GT fields, we cannot take enough fuel to get us to the end. It's just unfortunate timing of how things work. But the second time that they come through our fields and interrupt what's going on, we can take fuel. We can take enough fuel to get us to the end. So the way we look at it is that we just time our stop when the prototype field is coming through and is going to disrupt us. So we can get out of the way and go to the pits. Prototype field goes by, and then we rejoin in an essentially clear track, and we can run really clean air laps. And it seemed like in practice earlier that not many of the other cars had that part figured out. So I think it worked pretty heavily to our favor. Whether you take tires early or late, your math kind of works out to a wash. So that's how we look at it. Is we just want to get out of the way of the prototype fields. If there's one time to take our pit stop, we might as well get out of it. We might as well do it at a time that would have otherwise cost us more time than normal. Take the tow from this GTP car. Carrying a lot of speed through 17 this time. Whew. All right, where does that put us? The high 201s. All right, we're not going to have enough fuel to finish this now, so I need to get out of the way. I'll pull off outside of turn 1. Be set here. How much time do we have, Garrett?
About 2 minutes.
It's not going to be enough time. All right, I'm going to wait this one out, and we'll wait for the lobby to open up. I'm not going to bother. Yeah, that's the way that I look at that. So I'll talk about our sim real quick. Yeah, this is a pretty cool simulator that I'm driving. Is it overkill to do iRacing with? Yeah, but that's not all we do with it. So that's why it makes sense for us to have one here at the club. This is a CXC Motion Pro 2 sim with a whole lot of options, a lot of boxes checked on how we ordered them. I'm looking at 3 77-inch screens, which honestly, I cannot even see the edges of the 2 side screens. They're running in 2K at 120 frames per second. The rest of this is all custom delivered CXC stuff. So you really can't go buy the steering wheel or the steering motor or the pedal set online anywhere. It comes as a turnkey system. So the wheel I'm holding is an MPI wheel with all real racing hardware. The shift switches, the shift paddles, all the buttons on here are all motorsports grade. So that's everything that drivers are really used to using in real life. The steering system is the same direct drive system used in, I know for a fact, in the Dallara IndyCar sim, the Multimatic sim, and a lot of the Formula One sims. Can generate up to 40 Newton meters of torque, which is a lot more than we actually need. But we've got it really, really finely tuned so that you can feel absolutely anything that the sim is actually recognizing physics-wise is going on. So it just makes for a really good, solid feel. We have the feedback a little higher in terms of the torque through the wheel than you'd actually have in a real car. It just gives it a little bit more clarity for the driver. But any of the pro guys that come in, they're like, yeah, this feels a little bit heavier than real life. And I'm like, yeah, we know. We turn it up a little bit just so we have a little bit more information to work with for sensory stuff. I've got a Sim Hub dash in front of me that we've fully customized with all our own stuff on it. Got a tilt-in pedal set you guys can see in the bottom right. I've got a fully hydraulic tilt-in pedal tray setup. So that's also literally tilt-in pedals from a real race car going through Willwood master cylinders. There is .5.1 brake fluid in there that we do have to bleed all the time. The pedal feel is really nice. Nothing really beats the actual thing. Again, is it overkill for doing some iRacing? Yeah, you bet it. You bet. These sims retail they start in the 60,000 range, and ours are built to about $100,000 a piece. So is that a lot of money for a sim? Yeah, I totally get it. But we use them in a totally commercial space here. We wanted something really robust. We wanted the best available that we can get. And this is what we ended up with. So, like I said, we've got 2 sims here. We can run them in joint sessions locally. We can do 2 iRacing sessions, of course, online, or we can do local sessions here as well. And then you guys can see on the command center camera in the bottom right of your screen, we've got Garrett, who's going to be calling strategy and spotting for me tonight. Got TJ from More Podiums on there, who's going to be kind of running our streaming operation. And then we've got Daphne, who's our marketing director, working on the YouTube chat. So got a really cool space here. There's an actual Porsche GT4 Club Sport race car that you can see off to the side there. Ready to race. It just needs a little bit of fuel in it right now. We've got a really cool lounge off to the side. So if and when we have guests here, it's a really cool hangout spot. We got a fully stocked kitchen. We've got a front room. Yeah, this is the ultimate sim racing locale. In sunny coastal Jupiter, Florida, just a quarter of a mile from the intercoastal. So, all right, so we're in the official race lobby now. So we're going to focus a bit more forward on what's going on now. We've got about a minute before we go out and do our qualifying. I like to do in these very brief practice sessions that you load into. We've only got 60 seconds left on ours. I like to load into pit lane so I can see approximately where my pit stall is, so I'm not surprised when I come in for my pit stop during the race. I can see we're about 10 pit stalls. No, what are we? We're in like the first quarter of pit lane, so as soon as I come past the pit in cones, I'm gonna have to stop pretty early, which is fine, just good to know ahead of time. For those of you that don't know, when you go into these practice sessions right before a race, your incident points count towards your safety rating, even in this practice session. So I don't bother. They're not long enough for me to even get 3 corners in. So I don't know why most people even bother going out at all, unless there's something I'm missing. Yeah, but we're about to line up for qualifying here. What's up?
Excellent. So before you guys get into qualifying, we have Jen asking, what corner can you make up the most time on if you hit it right?
Oh, that's got to be, for me at Sebring here, the one that I find that I vary the most on. It's got to be a tie between the first corner and the last corner. So turn 1 and turn 17. They're the longest duration, fastest, most complicated corners, and both of them are unlike any corner on any other racetrack anywhere in the world. So there's a lot of variables that go into driving them and trying to figure them out. I'm finding that turn 1 is a bit difficult for me. And again, that's because I'm so used to what turn 1 actually looks like in real life with the wall placement and everything that is not true to real life. So it's a bit of an adaptation for me. So every time I come to turn 1, I'm expecting one thing, and then it's not what I expect it to be. So it's just a little different for me. But the turn 1 is the one that literally I'm like looking right at. I'm just going to rejoin the track outside of it. So it's right when I start my lap is the first corner. Is really, I think, the one that is the most time to be gained in. So, all right. So we're going to roll out for qualifying here. Like I said earlier, we get 1 out lap. We start on cold tires from pit lane. And our goal is to try to get some good heat into our tires. Now, contrary to what you see on Formula One broadcasts, those guys are always weaving back and forth on their reconnaissance lap. Not that they don't know what they're doing, because with their $500 million budgets per year, they definitely know what they're doing, but they're running a very different car and program than we are right now. So, the way we find that makes the most heat in tires, and is the safest way to put heat into tires, is aggressive throttle and brake, not weaving back and forth. The number of times I've seen guys wreck weaving back and forth because they just give it a little bit too much power at the wrong time in real life and in iRacing. Yeah, it's just much safer to do aggressive throttle and brake. And the braking especially puts a lot of heat into the brake discs. It goes through the upright, which goes into the wheel, which goes into the tires. So heating your brakes up also does feed into making your tires warmer. So I find that at Sebring, with how long it is, you don't have to do a lot of that, because by the time you get back to start finish, tires are feeling pretty good. As you guys can see on the stream here, it's reset to about, I think, 7:30 time of day. No, 8 o'clock. The sun's just setting right now. I don't notice much in terms of grip conditions changing as the sun sets. Car is feeling pretty good. Let's do this. I do a little bit of weaving here at high speed when we've got downforce. I'm not too worried about wrecking out. So, all right, I'm going to focus forward here. Let's take on our first lap.
Green, green, green. Okay, here comes your first time lap.
Like I said, I take this first one a little on the conservative side. Try to get a good lap in without taking too many risks. Tires still aren't quite all the way up, but it's okay. Everyone's got to deal with the same thing. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with iRacing, you see this green bar at the top of my screen that just shot up as I came to turn 7. That is what we call the delta bar. So that is the instantaneous time difference based on where I am on the track compared to my previous best. It only has my previous out lap to compare to right now, which was really slow in terms of a lap time. So you can I'm really not looking at it right now. It's not telling me anything terribly useful. Coming through turn 15. Go wide off the left at turn 16. Bit of sideways action.
Got about 2 laps of fuel.
Ideally, don't want to do that during the race because it'll burn up our rear tires, but I don't have to worry about that right now because I only need them for one more lap. All right, let's see what we can do here, turn 17. All right, that was a pretty good exit out of 17.
One more lap.
All right, that was a pretty good lap. I'll take that for my first one. 2:01.9. All right, let's go. Let's push it a little bit more here. I might mess up, but it's kind of the fun of this. Oh, yep. Bit wide. That'll cost me a little bit. Made it a little bit back up. We're 10th up right now. See if I can make it stick. Tentatively, I'm P4. Ooh, found another couple tenths there.
You have about 1 lap of fuel left.
Not exactly how I wanted to run turn 10, but it's okay. Oh, still found 2 tenths. All right. And another 10th. Wow. Let's keep this up. Lost a little bit of time, but it's okay. Still over half a second up right now. I'd love to bank that. Whew. Then it a little harder on the way into 17. Let's go. Come on, come on, come on. Run the shortest distance to the line. Where does that put me?
Chicken flag, chicken flag.
It's a P2.
P2. Thank you very much. All right. I'll take that. And it looks like it's a pretty high strength of field, too. A little bit higher than I'm used to. All right. That was good. Only 30 seconds left in qualifying. I'm going to go ahead and load my race setup while we wait. So this is the same setup I ran in qualifying. You can run whatever setup you want in qualifying or race. They can be totally different, but I always find that I will perform the best on a setup that I know. I just don't want to carry around unnecessary weight for qualifying, so we just take all that out. But for the race, we fill it up as much as we're able to, which in this case is 14 gallons worth. We burn almost exactly 1 gallon a lap here at Sebring, which the fuel consumption in iRacing is exactly what it is in real life. I know those exactly were the fuel numbers we did with the real car. All right. All right, Garrett. So, like we talked about before,
Next time by, line up
Is
on
this-
the left side. The
we've just
estimated
got-
SOF is 2,157. Pit road is closed right now. There are a lot of points on the table. Be smart and get a good finish.
okay, sorry, that was my automated spotter talking to me. It looks like we do have GTPs in here with us, Garrett.
Yeah, there's a handful of GTPs and a handful of MP2s.
Okay, so let's default to our 37 liters of fuel added.
Yep, and only left front and left rear tire change.
Got it, perfect.
Everything's set.
Cool, let's do this thing. All right. Let's default it to 1 more liter. Make it 38 because I think the way we ended last time, we would have been just short of what I needed to finish an additional lap if for some reason that were to happen.
Copy that.
Doesn't cost enough to not do it here. So I'm inside front row in class. Wow. I have only how many GTs do I have behind me? A lot.
Yeah, quite a few actually.
Okay. No pressure. Well, not technically front row, but
Well, yeah, you got 16 GTs behind you, and because we placed P2 here, we'll have the inside line coming into turn 1, so if anything,
Cool.
placing P2 is actually better than P1 here.
yeah, I'll take it. It'll be important to get a good run here. Although I'm sure like we did in our practice run, prototypes take off, and we're in like the entry to 17, so we're going to have to boogie on the entry to the corner.
Catch up 35. Car catch up 24. Car catch up 29. Car catch up 48. Car catch up 27. Car catch up 42. Car catch up 42. Car catch up
All right.
45. Car catch up 38. Car.
Let's do this thing. There's an incident ahead, according to my automated spotter. These guys already drove into each other.
I don't know if that's the case. It ran, told me to catch a whole bunch of cars actually, so I'm not sure if the spotter broke there or what happened, or if there actually was an incident, but I'm sure we can review that at the end of the race.
Sure. All right, you guys ready for this one? This is gonna be fun.
It's gonna be a good race.
Yeah.
It's our home grounds.
Yeah. No pressure. You know the part they're missing for this? In this sim version of Sebring? In real life, the infield is a madhouse of a party. They do have spectators here, but the real life fans literally like giant bonfires everywhere. So it's literally a whole talking point that we remind our drivers for any of the night stints to watch out for all of the smoke that's coming across the track on the backside of the racetrack. Usually between turn 7 and 10 is the worst. Like this area here is like literally just bonfire smoke everywhere. People are lighting pallets and sofas and tires and all sorts of awful stuff on fire here. Honestly, I'm impressed that Florida even lets it happen, but you know, hashtag Florida. It wouldn't be Florida if they didn't do that. So people even bring the fans. Like I said, it's a pretty intense crowd. They will even tow their personal boats to the track. There's no water nowhere nearby. Well, you got Lake Sebring, which is 15 minutes away, but they bring their boats on their trailers to the track and then party on them on the trailer. So there's a lot of boats in the infield and scaffolding towers and everything. The fans here are absolutely nuts. I've never actually experienced it myself firsthand. I just see it a lot of it on the TV and social media and whatnot. But they're missing that part in the sim bottle. All right, let's boogie, guys. All right, the FAF Porsche next to me, which is a stock iRacing livery. Shout out to Dustin Griggs, who was a data engineer on that car for a long time in real life. All right, prototypes are coming to turn 17 here.
Get ready, going green.
All right, here we go. Last breath.
Pace car is off. Green, green, green.
All right, let's do this.
The next car's the leader.
All right, well, not bad start. We got a nice lead to the cars behind. They're all flashing their lights at me. Tires are still a little cold.
Left side.
Copy your inside.
Keep
Yep.
to the right.
You're clear.
Not too worried, just want to survive here for a bit. Audi made a mistake.
Left side. Still there, hold your
Not
line.
sure why he checked up like that so much.
Go right. Stay on the right.
Oh boy. Hello. That was a
You're on
surprise.
left.
Alright, well, eye for an eye, I guess. Did not intend to hit him, but he checked up a lot more than I thought he was going to. Sorry, Christian, it was not on purpose. Alright. Alright, one lap down. Tires are now feeling really good. So the AMG that I'm driving and all of the other GT3 cars have both. A little bit conservative on my braking for that. Have both anti-lock brakes and traction control, which fundamentally accomplish the same thing, but in kind of two different directions. Anti-lock brakes, which every modern street car on the road has, basically just keep me from locking up my brakes excessively. This is a motorsport system, so we actually rely on that system to get us to stop faster than even the most finely trained left leg will be able to accomplish. And that's only under braking. And then traction control effectively does the opposite of that, but with the applying of power to the rear wheels on the way out. So we don't want to get any wheel slip from being too aggressive on power. Again, it's a motorsport system that's been very finely tuned. And these sim versions have a lot of it, just like real life, they have a lot of adjustability for both anti-lock brakes and traction control separately from each other. So you can adjust exactly how much is going on from either of those at any given point in time. So in this Mercedes, for instance, I've got 12 adjustments, or 12 different positions that I can tune anti-lock brakes and traction control. So basically from more to less, intervention is really the term that we use. How much does it intervene and try to, hold our hand with what we're doing? We do want to rely on it somewhat, but from the beginning of a race to the end of a race, or different conditions, different racetracks, we want to change those things. So for instance, right now I want to manage my tires at the rear a little bit. I don't want to overheat my rear tires too much early, because then we'll be paying the consequences at the end of the race. So I run my traction control in position 8 of 12, with 12 being essentially off and 1 being a whole lot of intervention. The bottom 6 positions are also more finely tuned for wet weather driving. So generally we use positions 7 through 12 for the dry and 1 through 6 for the rain, and the same goes for the ABS. So I've got my traction control in 8 and my ABS in 9 right now. You may see me adjust those later on. Not sure if I will, but if the car feels like it needs it, then we'll do it. The other thing you'll see me perhaps adjusting throughout the course of a race is my brake bias, which drivers tend to just call bias in jargon. Ooh, a little bit of a slide there. Not what we want to be doing. Our brake bias is the proportion of, or the portion of brake distribution from the front of the car to the rear. Generally speaking, we're almost always, unless we're talking about Porsche stuff, and Porsches do a lot of weird things. Generally, most race cars, you have 55 to 65% of your braking distribution on the front wheels. Just because when we're braking, the front tires are seeing more of a load. The front of the car will load up because all the weight transfers there, and then the rear of the car will kind of proportionately take less of that load. So we want to take advantage of the fact that the fronts have more weight on them, which is why we run more front bias. But exactly how much we will play with on a fraction of a percent at a time. I mean, when I hit the bias button here, I'm going up by 0.2% at a time, and I can feel every single click of that button.
Car right. Clear on the right.
Okay.
Car on your left.
Thanks for
Clear
that.
on the left.
He is not happy with me. So when I adjust the traction control, maybe we need an overhead camera for you guys in the future so you can see what I'm actually doing with the steering wheel from my side. I've got a knob about the 7 o'clock position on the steering wheel that I can adjust my traction control up and down. And then in the 4 or 5 o'clock position, I've got another knob on this side that I can adjust my ABS. And then on the 4 o'clock position, I've got 2 buttons. I've got one mapped to to go forward with my brake bias, and the other one to go rearward. Right now, for instance, I'm at 54% front bias. The higher that number is, the more we put on the front axle, and proportionally the less on the rear. I'm at 53.7 now. If the car feels a little bit loose, and it feels like it wants to kind of get away from me on the way into a corner, I might go a bit more forwards towards the end of the race, but for now, pretty happy with where it is. Garrett, would you mind turning the AC down a bit in here? It's getting pretty warm.
Of course. Give me 1 second.
Thank you. Looks like we got some prototype traffic coming up soon. I assume that's cars that wrecked out early and had to tow back to the pits or something. Whew. We're going to work on getting a heart rate monitor on me for future races and getting an overlay so you can actually see what my heart rate is. Am I sitting still right now? Yes. Playing a video game? Yeah, I guess you could look at it that way. But this is really physical right now. Is it the equivalent of me running a marathon? No, of course not. But my heart rate is definitely not at a resting rate right now.
Heads up, Greg. You have a single P2 car about 3 seconds gap to the rear.
Copy. Oh, okay.
Faster traffic approaching. Car on your left.
Is this the Spike P2 car? It looks like it. Yeah, it is. That's awesome. The AO Racing car. They were running really strong in the 12 hour this past week, and I forget what ended up happening to them. Oh. A little bit wide at turn one. Oh. My eyes are in the wrong place for that. Shame on me. The one thing that we're going to work on for you guys to be able to watch while I race here in the future, and I forget if I mentioned this last week on our live stream, but we have a very cool piece of tech called eye tracking glasses made by Toby. There are a set of glasses that I can put on that has my camera built into them and infrared scanners that will look at my eyeballs in real time. And based on that infrared data, and some really cool software, you can watch in real time what my two eyes are focused on. A lot of really cool science that I can't fully explain because I'm not a neuro whatever eye doctor. Oop, went down one too far because I'm talking. Anyways, I'm going to put them on and you'll be able to see where my eyes are focused at any given point in time. One of the big things we talk about in driving at essentially all levels. So for total novices their first day, intermediates who've been to the track maybe 10 times, guys who've raced competitively at a club or, you know, semi-professional level, or even full-on professional drivers who've been racing for 20 years. We're always talking about what are you doing with your eyes, and try to using your eyes as a tool to correct a certain behavior. Having done it for so long, I know that if I found myself repeatedly missing an apex.
Heads up, you got a GTP about a second gap behind, closing in rapidly.
Copy. Thank you.
With an incident ahead, the leader consider 1.931.
So, like I said, if I recognize that I'm repeatedly missing an apex, I've kind of taught myself to realize probably because I'm looking in the wrong place at the wrong time. So I try to look at it make a little mental note of that, and I try to change what I'm doing with my eyes. Usually, you need to look further down the racetrack, sooner in the corner. But to be able to watch that in real time when you're coaching someone or in a review replay situation is a very, very, very valuable tool.
Heads up, 2.5 seconds to the nearest GTP car behind. Just a single.
I think it lunges from way too far back there, bud. Not you, Garrett, sorry. This Audi's getting really aggressive.
Yeah, I'm watching. I don't know what he's thinking.
Yeah. Not sure what he's
Also, you got a lapped GTP car, about 1.5 second gap behind.
Copy. I don't want to let this guy go, but he's starting to scare me a little bit. Come on, go, 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 go. Go, what are you waiting for?
Heads up, 2 GTP cars, about 0.5 second and 1 second back.
Copy. Oh, really?
That's alright, we only got minor damage to the rear, diffuser is still intact.
Copy.
We do have another GTP car coming behind, about 1.5 second gap.
Alright, car feels fine. Not sure. Okay, it's not happy with me. Sorry, sir. I don't know what I did to annoy you. Oh boy. Oh boy.
Car on your left. Clear on the left. Car on your left. Clear on the left. Faster traffic approaching. Left side.
Whew.
Clear on
All right.
Heads up, you got a lap P2, about coming up behind you right now.
right side.
And you're clear.
Clear.
Copy.
Doesn't look like there's any more prototype traffic approaching anytime soon.
Okay. Are those all the GTPs for now?
That I can see for now, yes.
Copy. You have a
I
few
think
more.
you have one more actually.
Okay.
About 1.5 second gap back.
Got it.
Faster car coming up quick.
Try to signal to him where I'm gonna be, so he's not surprised. I'm not trying to ruin his race, but I also don't want to ruin mine. Whew, okay. Yeah, car feels fine. Not sure what that GTP thought I was doing in turn 16.
Got a P2 behind you, about a second and a half gap.
Copy.
Faster traffic approaching.
Okay, right at my braking point, that's cool.
Clear on the right. Car right. Clear on the right.
Go for the over-under. Am I gonna get it? I don't know.
Right side. You're on the left. 3 wide. Right side. 2 wide. Clear on the right. You got a slow car on the right. You got a slow car on the right.
You got a P2 behind you, 1 second back.
Yep. Prototype's gonna have to wait.
Left side. Stay on the right. Clear.
I'm not worried about this Christian guy. I'm not gonna take it to him. I have a feeling he's gonna... Wow, okay.
Left side.
Wanna run me off the road?
On the right.
Come on, dude.
Stay on the right.
I'm not trying to pick a fight with you, but you gotta play fair.
Still there. Hold your line. Clear.
Got a P2, about 2 seconds back.
Got it.
Faster car coming up quick. You have about 5 laps of fuel left. Car ride.
Ah, man. Let's go. Come on.
The car behind is closing on you. 4.6 seconds.
All right. Well, stuff happens in racing. Felt like I left enough room for that P2, but I guess he thought otherwise. So.
Well, back when we watched the replay, he dropped a wheel over the curb, and then looped it back into you.
Okay.
I don't know what he was doing. He had plenty of space, and then just randomly turned down the curb very sharply.
Yeah, I was trying not to leave too much room to the Audi, and I'm trying to suggest that the P2 needs to wait a little bit, but I guess he didn't want to wait. So, all right. Well,
That was all on him. I mean, you didn't do anything wrong there. He had plenty of space. He had more than enough space. He had 2 car widths and still messed it up. Also, you got 3 P2s. One about 2 seconds back. Actually, two of them 2 seconds gap back.
copy. All good. Make some of these positions back, I hope. I'm sure the guy in the Audi's pleased.
Car right. Keep to the left. Faster traffic approaching. Clear. Left side.
Another P2 about 2.5 seconds back.
Copy. Oh. Gotta focus forward now. Nothing I can do about that.
Faster car coming up quick.
P2 taking the inside.
Car on your left. There's an incident ahead. Clear.
Okay, where are we? So we got almost halfway into the race. Another lap will be past the halfway point. I can just now stop for fuel.
Yeah, it might be worth to stop for fuel now.
Is there more prototypes coming?
No more prototypes coming that I can see.
All right, well, I can only now take enough fuel for it to be worthwhile, so I might wait off for a little bit.
Copy that. You got about 3.5 laps of fuel left.
Copy. Oop, a little wide there on turn 7. All right, so just confirming, Garrett, we've got 38 liters of fuel to be added and left side tires only.
Yep.
All right. Whew.
Heads up, get a left P2 car approaching about 2.5 seconds out.
Copy. All right, let's get to the pits before he catches us. All right, I'm gonna box this lap. Box, box.
Faster car coming up quick.
All right, Alright, so we can go pretty fast. We turn 17 here, and I just hug the inside, carry some speed, make it inside this cone.
Clear on the left.
Just under to 45 miles an hour, 5 miles an hour than we ran at Suzuka last week.
5, 3, 2, 1. Right here. All the damage is repairable.
I'm not going to take any of this optional time. I'm going to go as soon as he drops me here. Let me go. Why can't I?
All clear. Punch it.
Oh, there we go. So in iRacing and pit lane, you can drive right through other cars. So in theory, I don't really need to look whether anyone's coming or not because we would just drive through each other. You just want to make sure when you get to pit out, you're not in the same place at the same time. Looks like I'm rejoining right ahead of some.
Rejoining right in front of a P2. Be careful.
Okay. All right, so we took left side tires.
It's we get a P2 7.5 seconds out, 6.5 seconds out now, and another one that is about 10 out.
Copy. All right, so I have some clear traffic ahead, clear space ahead. Means I can just focus forward, turn some good laps, and hopefully make up some track time. Got my left side tires nice and cold, but brand new. Right side tires are a bit worn out, but they're hot, so car feels a little weird until the left sides come up all the way. Yeah, car should feel better by the time they get warm, though.
Delete consider 2.507.
P2 coming, looks like. So when you guys hear us talking about P2s, I'm not talking about who's in position 2.
As a bitch, you got a 3.5 second gap to a P2 behind, and the one that's passing you now. Just heads up.
Copy. When we say P2, it's just kind of shorthand for LMP2, which is the name of the category. So if we were racing LMP3s, you'd hear us say P3s. Is that confusing when we're talking about position 2 and position 3? Yes, but generally we're not kind of using them in the same context.
Clear.
LMP2 about 5 seconds out.
Yep.
And the GTP about 7.5.
Okay.
The car in front is pitting.
All right, let's make up some time here.
Car right.
Woo!
Clear on the right.
That was close. That was really close. Yeah, Gary, let's make sure to watch cars coming out of pit lane these next few laps because I think it's right now.
Copy that. I got P2 about 1.5 seconds out.
Faster car coming up quick.
Copy. So I'm on hot tires now that are feeling pretty good while these guys who just came out of the pits, I assume, are on a new set of tires. Please don't go through. You're not close enough yet.
Delete is pitting now. Car right. Clear on the right.
Another P2 about 1.5 seconds out.
Copy.
Faster traffic approaching. Right side. Clear on the right. Car right. Clear
Wow,
on
that
the
was
right.
fast. Oh,
Car
Lambo.
right. There's an incident ahead.
Cool. That's another position. So we're up to 7th. Hopefully, we're going to get a couple more of these other guys stopping, but let's see. Still don't love how I'm doing turn 17, but I'm not going to try experimenting with different stuff right now.
You're in the top 10.
prototype's gonna have to wait.
Car right.
Oh. How do you hit me? Come on, man.
Clear.
Can't move as much as you. Car still feels fine.
Got a lap of GTP about 2 seconds out.
Faster car
Got it.
coming up quick.
Prototype can wait.
Car right. Clear.
All right.
You got a GTP about a second and a half out.
Okay.
And
15
the
minutes to go.
P2, 2 seconds out.
15 minutes to go. All right, so all the GT3 traffic has to have stopped by now.
Got a P2 about 2
Right
seconds
side.
back.
Clear.
Got him.
And a GTV half second back as well.
Okay.
Group of faster cars approaching. Car right. Clear.
So, one of the ways we look at multi-class stuff, again, we're not racing the prototypes, we're not competing with them, but we are obviously sharing the same racetrack at the same time and both trying to run our own races. If you're in the slower car, or class rather,
So I grabbed us a P2 about or GTP about a second out.
copy. We don't want to waste any time. I mean, we got to share the space and make the best of having used the same racetrack at the same time, but we obviously don't want to waste time trying to get them past us. So one of the ways we look at doing that, whenever you're given the opportunity, you're entering a
Faster traffic approaching.
corner at essentially the same time as a prototype. Ideally, it's much better to give up a little bit of time in the braking zone and then make sure you maximize your exit. Oops, someone go off. Yep, that's the Audi that I was racing before. A little bit of karma there. I don't know. Am I allowed to say that? I think it was.
Yeah, that was Daddy. Also, you got a P2 approaching about 3 seconds out.
Copy. Yeah, so multi-class stuff. Generally, it's much better. Stopwatch is your ultimate tell. You lose a lot less time letting a prototype get past you in the braking zone. So maybe you lift a little earlier,
Traffic approaching.
get out of the way, slow down, let the prototype go through, they get to apex. And you want to make sure that you get a really good exit out of the corner. And that doesn't cost you any additional time any more than necessary. So like for now, I'm going to lift off, let him go through.
Still there.
Thought he would be a little
Stay
faster
on the
there.
line. Clear.
You really don't want to compromise your corner exit the best you're able to. You don't want to race to the corner of the prototype and then they get in your way and then they cost you another half a second down the straightaway just because your exit speed was off.
3 seconds to a P2 behind.
Okay.
And I'm all in about a second behind him.
Okay. Good race going with this Porsche behind right now.
Faster traffic approaching. Right side.
I'll take your arrow toe, please. Thank you.
You're pulling away from the car behind. The gap is 1 second. The car on your left.
I don't know if you guys were watching the Sebring 12 hour over the weekend. It was a really good move. I don't remember, probably 2 hours, inside 2 hours from the end. The two leading LMP2s were entering turn 17. I believe it was the Era Motorsports car that went on to win, and might be the AO car, the Spike Dragon car, I think, if I remember correctly. They're both, I think the purple car was leading, and they were coming up on the Lexus GTD Pro car. And they split in the braking zone for turn 17. They split around the Lexus. One went to the outside, one went to the inside. And the car that had started that corner in second place in class came out leading in class. So not only did they split a GT car, but they also changed positions at the same time. So it's pretty epic. Correct me if I'm wrong on the cars that were involved there, but I'm pretty sure it was Era and the AO car. I'm sure it's all over IMSA's highlight reels. Ooh,
4.5 seconds to the nearest GTP car.
Copy. Don't think I'm going to have any shot at getting past anyone ahead, but I've got a good race going with this Porsche behind right now. Still 5 or 6 laps to go.
Faster traffic approaching.
I would love to hold on to this position, but
Clear on the right.
we'll see. Not going to take any big risks here. This guy's playing nice and fair so far, so I'm not going to go crazy trying to hold him off. If he throws a good move on me or I make a mistake.
5 seconds to the nearest PT car behind.
Copy. If you're ever in a similar situation, a couple minutes to go in a race, you got a car right on your bumper, the best thing I could tell you is to not look in your mirrors and focus forward, as very difficult as that may actually be. Trying my best to do that right now, but he's filling my mirror, so it's kind of hard to ignore.
Left side. Clear on the left.
You got a P2 2.5 seconds, and I'm on following him about 3.5 seconds back.
Okay.
Group of faster cars approaching. Right side.
Oh man, good. I made up, got myself some gap over this Porsche.
You're
Nice.
pulling away from the car behind. The gap is
Oh boy.
1 second.
Please.
Right
You got 3 P2s behind you.
Stay on the left.
Oh boy.
Stay on the left.
And then one GTP coming up on you in right now.
Yep.
Running
See him.
1.884.
Alright, I'll stay to this side. Fairness. Might have been 2 moves on my part. I'll try to play it fair. I was just trying to catch the draft of the cars ahead.
Faster traffic approaching.
I see him. He's not close enough yet. A bit wide. Close the door for him.
You've got about 5 laps of fuel. Right side. Clear on the right.
Woo. Man, this place is bumpy. Anyone who ever races here in a non-motion sim, you know it's bumpy, but for those of you that have driven our sim or any other motion sim, you definitely get to experience Sebring's bumps firsthand. I think the motion system's going to work out tonight.
Got 2 prototypes, about 4 and 5 seconds out, respectively.
Okay. Is this
Got a P2, about a half second out, and I'm on 2 seconds out.
GT car ahead for position?
Yes, the GT car ahead is for position.
Okay.
2 seconds gap, so.
Got it.
Clear
I
on the
must have
left.
made a mistake.
Faster traffic approaching.
Oh, popped off the brake a little too
Clear
soon.
on the right.
Blame on me.
Car on your left.
P2 left, and then you got a GTP 6 seconds back.
Copy. This BMW might be injured ahead. Could be 2 laps remaining, I think. We'll see. Porsche's right there again. Got it.
You've got about 2 laps of fuel left.
Ah, I don't have it. All right, well, that's it. Well, not that's it, but 1 corner to go, but Porsche got a good run on me, so. See
Yeah,
if
who knows, maybe he bends it in the wall.
Front end, no arrow.
Behind.
All right, well, nice race, Mr. Porsche. That was
You're pulling away from the
fairly
car.
done.
The gap is 6.6
All right,
seconds.
so 5th.
All
Not a
right,
podium
get
like
check
last time,
flag.
but I think that was a really good recovery after the incident we had there in the middle of the race.
Good job.
Whew. All right. Oh, I'll still take that. That's 54 more iRating points. I think that was a pretty solid race. A couple more incidences than last week at Suzuka, but I'll take it. I'll certainly take it. Oh man, my wrists are tired over these bumps. All right. Well, as always, I want to thank all our guys here. Garrett, you did an awesome job spotting for me tonight, helping me out with crew chiefing and strategy duties. TJ, I'm sure you did an awesome job with the stream. Glad we got to get some of your questions in. Feel free to write us at info@thechicane.club if you guys have questions or you want to see something in one of our future streams. I know next week we've got Portimao on the schedule, one of the new tracks from iRacing. I think it's called Algarve something or other circuit. But everyone I've ever talked to who's ever been there just calls it Portimao. Awesome track. I was really excited when I saw that iRacing added it. When the pandemic kind of rearranged a lot of racing schedules, F1 ended up going there for the Portuguese Grand Prix. So if If you guys have watched any of those races, should be a familiar track. I definitely need to brush up on it a little bit myself. Going to be a good, we'll get a good week of practice in here before that. As always, we want to thank our partners. You guys see their logo scrolling in the upper right of the screen. I want to say thanks Southwig, our business partners here. We got VBox Motorsport. I'm a VBox dealer, so if you guys ever need any camera systems, lap timers for real race cars or the sim world, let me know. Awesome product line. I got my Race Logic lap timer right to my right here. Got saw belts on there. Been donning their gloves, seat belts, and their seat on all of our sims. Oh, I just blew pit speed.
Pit box in 5.
Yeah, saw belts. I work really closely with them on a number of things, and we custom ordered our sims with their seats just because we love their seats so much.
Right here. Okay, punch it.
Got Decipher Technologies, which helps us out with all of our cybersecurity and networking needs. If you guys ever need anything like that for your homes or businesses, you definitely want to talk to Decipher for that. We've got their new logo on our car everywhere. We've got Rocky's Ultimate Garage, tints, wraps, wheels, detailing, you name it, they make it happen in West Palm Beach. I would highly recommend them if you're local and want something done to a sports or supercar. Yeah, I think that's I think about it hits everyone. Got our some old symmetric logo on there. Kind of we've rebranded into the Chicane Club now. And two other big shout outs. I want to give a big shout out to my friends over at CP Racing. They're all over in Italy right now, taking on the Mugello 12-hour over this upcoming weekend. You've got Shane Lewis, one of our founding members here. You guys know him really well. He's there. We've got Charles Eppenlaub, Joe Foster, Shane, Charles, Joe, Charlie. I think they're only using 4 drivers this weekend. I would love to be there. Wish I could have made it, but we had some conflicts that were unavoidable for us. I would have been calling strategy and helping with engineering on that. So best of luck to you guys if you're watching this weekend. Hope it goes well. I'll definitely be rooting you on from here. Want to dedicate this whole racing stream to a really good friend and mentor of mine that unfortunately we lost this week, John Shapiro. He was a very close mentor of mine for a number of years. He, my first venture into professional racing as an engineer, I worked alongside him. We did a lot of stuff together over the years. Unfortunately, he was diagnosed with neuroendocrine cancer 3-4 years ago, right around when I launched the metric. And unfortunately, they took him away from the racetrack for the last couple of years. And unfortunately, he lost the battle to cancer over the weekend. So I want to dedicate this to you, Johnny. I know you'd be rooting us on here. Yeah, I think that's it. Let's look, see if we can see some of the incidents from tonight and see how this affected my iRating. All right.
Nick would like to congratulate you on a great race, along with Replica Racing and more podiums.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
And Alyssa also. She was partying in the infield.
Nice. Tonight or over the weekend or both?
I believe tonight during the stream.
All right, cool. Someone was partying. All right, let's see if we can cycle through some of the incidents I dealt with here. Yeah, the rear end is all banged up. I see that. Fortunately, no AMG parts. I got to go to the parts trailer and spend 5 figures on to fix this thing this weekend. Oh, let's see this whole thing. I want to back up and watch this from the chase cam. So this was when I lost and gained that position simultaneously here. So I go inside, get a good run on this BMW. Porsche gets a really good run on me. Shame on me for letting that happen. I go to the outside, he goes to the inside, and then I get caught up on the BMW, can't go back around the outside of the Porsche. And then I just go for it in here, and I think the BMW kind of just lets me get through. I assume he's nursing an injured car, so. Well, shame on me for letting that happen, but, you know, mistakes happen, and I am not afraid to admit it here. So, yeah, all right, well, let's see how this affected my iRating and whatnot. All right, so just a couple minutes after the race, the official results are available. All right, so I gained some iRating at 21 even, 54 points up from where I started. I think that might be an all-time high for myself, if I'm not mistaken. And then my safety rating dropped a little bit. So for those of you who do not know how this works, you get two iRatings or two ratings. There's two rating systems in iRacing. There is firstly what they call your I rating, like iRacing, but with just rating. It's kind of like the chess ranking system. So you get a number from 0 to 10,000. The higher, the better, obviously. Um, and the way they do that is they score you. You do a handful of initial races when you're unranked, and then after you've completed a number of races, they look at your finishing results compared to everyone else based on their I rating. So if you're at a field of 10 cars that all have a 1,000 I rating, for instance, you have a 1,000 and you win, you're going to get a bunch of points. Your I rating will go up and you'll get matched against evenly rated racers against that. So the I rating is totally driven purely based on your finishing results and nothing else. So not your qualifying position. Obviously, qualifying well will give you a better shot at finishing well, but it is not directly correlated. So just purely your finishing results compared to everyone else. The other number that we look at is called your safety rating. That is a number from 0 to 5. And that is driven by the number of incident points that you accumulate throughout the race. You saw me get a couple points. Garrett and I talked about it a little bit. Every time you make contact with another car, you go off the track, you hit a wall, you spin out, anything that's really kind of easily classified as an error. You accumulate points depending on the severity of that error. If you just lightly contact someone, you probably get 0 or 1 point. If you plow into someone really hard, both cars involved will get 4 points. If you get 17 points in this series, for example, if you accumulate 17 points in one race, you'll get immediately disqualified and pulled from the session. So that's how they discourage unfair racing. And then at the end of the race, depending on the number of incident points that you accumulated, they will adjust your safety rating up and down. So at a 3.5, and I'm in a pretty healthy spot. So I'm pretty pleased with this. Again, I don't purely race just to make my I rating higher. I race to have fun and get better at racing, and whatever the number is, I just know that I'll always be ranked against drivers who are pretty evenly matched with me, based on whatnot. So, yeah. So I finished 5th in class. Filter this. Look at all classes, but I'm really not racing against the other prototypes. It's kind of an irrelevant measure. So. All right, so I finished about, I don't know, let's say, it's hard to say. I wish they made this a bit more clear in here. I got 7 incident points, so my safety rating dropped just by a little bit, but because I finished kind of above average in my field based on the strength of the field, my I rating went up by a good bit. So that's great, like having a big rating, a higher rating, but it means I'm going to be racing harder people the next time I go into a race. So kind of a give and take there. Yeah, I'll take it. Raised a bunch of guys, look like mostly based in North America, which makes sense considering the time of the evening that Europe's all asleep right now. Yeah, I would call that a pretty successful night anytime my I rating goes up. So, yeah, let's wrap it up for the guys. Again, we want to thank all of our partners, VBox, Sawbelt, Decipher Technologies, Rocky's Ultimate Garage, South Wake, Symmetric, of course. Again, want to big shout out for CP Racing, and I'm putting this one, I'm going to dedicate this one to John Shapiro, his memory, this week. Hopefully this isn't the first time that you're hearing that information. Yeah, I'd call this a successful one. We'll you can catch us this time next week, 8 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday evening, and we'll be taking on Portimao. Really looking forward to that one. So thanks again for tuning in. If you haven't, please make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and turn on your notifications for our streams. Yeah, we'll see you guys next week. I'll talk to you guys soon.